Okay, Ruthless Church, here we go. This morning, my post is called, I Apologize for Being Sorry. And I think the best way that I could be able to describe to you what it is I'm trying to convey with that title is to tell you this dream I had a long time ago when I left Virginia for the second time. In the dream, I was walking down the street, down High Street in Portsmouth, where I grew up, with every black guy that I knew. And we were walking down the street just hanging out. We weren't doing anything. And all of a sudden, the police showed up. And the police said, you all are under arrest. And we protested. We said, you know, what are we under arrest for? What did we do? And the police officer said, a black person stole a radio. And we were like, okay, and he was like, he basically said, well, that's the only description we have, so we're putting you all in jail. So we were like, that's not fair, blah, blah, blah. How you going to put us all in jail because a black person stole a radio? But they rounded us all up. They put us in jail, and they started processing us, and they had, paperwork we had to go through. So they were processing everybody and just going. And I was standing close to my best friend, Kevin Bright. Man, if you could find me, I'm on Facebook. And anyway, so Kevin, we were friends from when I was from 6 years old to 10. But he was just an important person. So at any rate, I was standing next to Kevin, and I was like, stay next to me, stay next to me. And then they were going through processing. And then next thing you know, they only had one form left to process one more prisoner. And they picked Kevin. And so they processed him and told him they were sending him to jail for life. Even though all they did was steal a radio, they were going to put my friend in jail for life. And then they said, well, you're free to go. And I said, I'm free to go. And I said, no, I was with all of them. I know they didn't steal the radio. And he was like, well, unfortunately, all of y'all are going to jail, but we ran out of paperwork, so you're free to go. We don't have any more forms. And I was torn. I said, I don't want to leave then. If you're going to keep all of them, keep me too, because this isn't fair. But the police officer was like, you get out of here. We don't have any paperwork for you. It's all filled out. So then Kevin said, man, just go. Get out of here and tell them that we're innocent. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, just go out there and tell them we're innocent. And so I, with being afraid, not knowing what to do, because I knew when I left there, I was going to be the only black dude left. Kind of like Will Smith in that zombie movie, I Am Legend. But I hadn't seen that movie yet. But anyway, I ended up leaving and really didn't know what to do. I just kind of felt sorry. I was sorry that there was nothing that I could think of doing. And I was sorry that all my friends had gotten put in jail for something that I knew they didn't do. And they knew they didn't do. But it was like nothing we could do about it. We were all just guilty because they said somebody was guilty. And so they put it all on us, except for I was technically innocent because of paperwork. So anyway, I left that place. After that dream, I was working at this kind of weird spiritual place. And there was a guy there who was interpreting dreams as doing a workshop. And he was, I talked to him. He was a black dude. And after he gave his little talk, I said, man, can I tell you this dream? And then he listened to the dream, and this was his interpretation. I'm not saying it's mine, but this is what he gave me, and it's the best that I got to work with right now. And what he said was that when we come into the world, we pretty much get this, we're guilty just by being born. Black people in general, black males in general, in this place where we were, but all of us, to some degree, come here with a story that tells us that we're less than who we really are. Who we are by God's creation, the infinite beings that exist within our, I don't know how to put it into words. Let's just say we're infinite beings, but we don't know we are. And anything that tells us that we're less than that is because of some form of guilt. Let's just leave it at that. So I said, okay, I hear you. And he said, unfortunately, what happens is most people believe that story. They come here innocent. People tell them a story of their guilt. They accept that story. And then they just kind of live within the boundaries of that story, most of us. And he said, but apparently your dream, what he interpreted, was that I just didn't accept the story. And because like the police were saying we're all going to jail, and I kept saying we're innocent, we're innocent, we're innocent, then and the other people kind of were just like, man, this is messed up, but they went ahead and went to jail. And because I was saying I kept saying we're innocent, that I basically didn't get processed with everybody else. I didn't accept the fact that they were going to just put me in jail when I didn't do anything. And he said, unfortunately, once people accept that terrible story about themselves, they act like that. And then the world says, yep, see, we're justified in the story we said about you. And then everybody's happy. But actually, everybody isn't happy. So, long story, still a little bit longer. I went out into the world. I left Virginia with some frustrations that I won't get into right now. And pretty much didn't know what to do with myself. And I'm still trying to figure that out. But the one thing that I did keep in my mind is that we're innocent. And when I say we, I'm not just talking about black people. I'm not just talking about people that look like me or look similar to me. I'm talking about all of us. But yet, some of us have some really, really deep guilt stories that it's hard to penetrate that idea of our innocence. But on the other end of the work that you have to do to realize that we are innocent, there is this joy. But it's hard for us to find because when we accept our own innocence, we have to accept the innocence of everyone else. Even those police officers in my dream that processed all my friends when they were and put them as criminals when they weren't. Those fools, excuse me for saying that, were also innocent. Even though they didn't know what was going on, they were caught up into a system. And I know I'm talking about a dream, but the reason I'm talking about it with a little bit of passion is because the fact is we're still caught up in a system. Most of us, we're living in the matrix, and we don't even know it. And there's some of us who are aware, not to sound all sci-fi and stuff, but there's some of us who are aware that we're living in a broken system. And people are afraid to say something's not right because they're scared of what they have to lose. But you know what? The system can give you everything and you still have nothing because the system is broken. And so until we come to the awareness that the system is broken and try to live into it with the innocence, and unfortunately, it's not easy because, first of all, we know that we have all made mistakes and we equate mistakes with guilt. Mistakes and guilt are not necessarily the same thing. We just got to trust that and see our own innocence, and then we have to see the innocence in others. Even people who do horrible things. We have to see the innocence because until we do, that blame is just going to get spread around, and there's going to be some crazy eruptions everywhere. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. We have to look at the world differently. I'm going to steal some Wayne Dyer, which I normally don't do, and say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's a lot of people saying it. It's sort of cliche, but it does speak truth. And I think that we should put in the work. We should put in the work of repentance within ourselves. And please, you people who judge the word repentance, please stop being whack. Repentance means to turn around and do something and go in a different direction. We are going in the wrong direction. Turn around and go a different way. That's repentance, okay? Forget all this meaning and all this like fear and all this ignorance that keeps us from doing the work. Yeah, it's going to hurt. But you know what? On the other end, there's joy. And we're going to have to see this innocence. And I say, when I say somebody is being ignorant, I'm not saying that as a judgment. It's when you don't know something and you can't admit you don't know it, that's ignorant. That's just what it is. It's like saying trees behind me are green or brown. But we have options, you know? We got to stop apologizing for being the way that we are and apologize for being sorry. Because being sorry is being less than who you really are. And we're more than what we think we are. But we have to start seeing it in ourselves first. And then we have to see it in others. And when they can't see it in themselves, we have to remind them, you are better than that. Okay? So I apologize for being sorry. Because I have been sorry. And sometimes I am sorry. But grace, man, it's a doorway out. And it's available to all of us. But you got to give it universally. You know? You have to. You have to see the innocence that's in your own being, and then you have to remind other people that they're innocent too, because until we realize the innocence that we all are, we're going to keep playing out these guilt stories, and it's going to be harder and harder to see the truth as it is. So, anyway, that's the invitation. It's said in love, and hopefully it makes a little sense.